The mysterious murder of John F. Kennedy. The assassination of President John F. Kennedy on November 22, 1963 remains one of the most debated and mysterious events in modern history. While the Warren Commission concluded that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone in the murder, countless investigators, scholars, and skeptics have questioned this official narrative. The circumstances surrounding JFK's death, the identity and motivations of the assassin, and alleged ties to larger forces have fueled decades of conspiracy theories, alternative investigations, and public intrigue. The assassination. John F. Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States, was assassinated at 12:30 p.m. Central Standard Time in Dealey Plaza, Dallas, Texas, while riding in an open-top limousine during a motorcade. Kennedy was struck by 2 bullets, one in the upper back and one fatally in the head. Texas Governor John Connally, who was seated in front of him, was also seriously injured. Within hours, Lee Harvey Oswald, a 24-year-old former Marine and ex-defector to the Soviet Union, was arrested for the murder of a Dallas police officer, J.D. Tippit, and later charged with Kennedy's assassination. Lee Harvey Oswald, the accused assassin. Oswald's life was complex and enigmatic. Born in 1939 in New Orleans, he joined the U.S. Marines as a teenager. In 1959, he defected to the Soviet Union, expressing support for Marxism. After spending about 2.5 years in Minsk, he returned to the U.S. with a Russian wife, Marina, under unusual circumstances, despite the Cold War climate. Oswald worked briefly at the Texas School Book Depository in Dallas. According to the Warren Commission, 1964, he fired 3 shots from the 6th-floor window of that building with a Mannlicher Carcano rifle, killing Kennedy. However, Oswald denied any involvement and famously stated, "I'm just a patsy." He was murdered 2 days later, on live television, by Jack Ruby, a nightclub owner with alleged mob connections, before he could be put on trial. Connections and alleged affiliations. While Oswald acted alone according to official reports, numerous ties, both real and speculative, link him to a web of possible affiliations. 1. Soviet and Cuban intelligence. Due to Oswald's defection to the USSR and pro-Castro activities, including his membership in the Fair Play for Cuba Committee, suspicions emerged that he was connected to Soviet or Cuban intelligence. Declassified documents show Oswald visited Mexico City weeks before the assassination, attempting to gain visas to Cuba and the USSR, possibly to escape the U.S. 2. CIA and FBI surveillance. Oswald was on the FBI's radar for years. Some files suggest that both the CIA and FBI were monitoring him. Conspiracy theorists argue that elements within these agencies may have manipulated or allowed the assassination, perhaps due to Kennedy's alleged soft stance on communism or hostility to secret operations like Operation Northwoods and his desire to reduce CIA influence after the Bay of Pigs fiasco. 3. Organized crime. Several top mobsters, including Carlos Marcello and Santos Trafficante Jr., are believed to have had motives to remove Kennedy. The Kennedy administration was aggressively prosecuting organized crime, largely through Robert F. Kennedy, JFK's Attorney General. Jack Ruby's mob connections added fuel to this theory. 4. Anti-Castro Cubans. Kennedy's failure to support the 1961 Bay of Pigs invasion deeply angered anti-Castro exiles. Some theorists suggest Oswald may have been manipulated by or linked to these groups, possibly through covert CIA channels. 5. Military-industrial complex. JFK had advocated for peace and hinted at withdrawing troops from Vietnam, e.g., National Security Action Memo 263. Some believe elements of the defense industry or military intelligence saw him as a threat to American hegemony. Major investigations. 1. The Warren Commission, 1964. Chaired by Chief Justice Earl Warren, this commission concluded that Oswald acted alone. Its findings were widely accepted at first, but later criticized for ignoring contradictory eyewitness accounts, relying on incomplete evidence, and failing to address Ruby's connections adequately. 2. The House Select Committee on Assassinations, 1976 to 1979. This congressional investigation concluded that JFK was probably assassinated as a result of a conspiracy, though it couldn't determine the participants. It cited audio evidence suggesting a second gunman, though later this was disputed. Popular theories and cultural legacy. Over time, JFK's assassination has inspired books, films, and documentaries, such as JFK, 1991, by Oliver Stone, which suggests a high-level coup. Jim Garrison's Investigation, a New Orleans DA who accused businessman Clay Shaw of conspiracy. Works by journalists like Mark Lane, David Lifton, and Vincent Bugliosi, each presenting varying views. A Gallup poll, 2023, showed that about 61% of Americans still believe there was a conspiracy, despite official findings. Declassified documents and remaining mysteries. In the past 2 decades, especially after the JFK Records Act of 1992, thousands of pages of CIA and FBI documents have been released. However, some remain redacted. Even recent administrations, including Presidents Trump and Biden, delayed full disclosure, citing national security. Some unanswered questions have remained up to now. Why was Oswald allowed to return so easily from the USSR? Who did Oswald meet in Mexico City? Why was Ruby, with mob ties, able to kill Oswald so easily? Were there more shooters in Dealey Plaza? The new findings from the Washington Post and official documents. The new revelations show CIA ties to Oswald. A July 14, 2025 Washington Post expose presents groundbreaking evidence revealing a more intense CIA surveillance and interaction with Oswald than previously known. George Joanides, a CIA officer in Miami, used the alias Howard, or Howard Mark Gebler, to secretly fund and oversee the anti-Castro Cuban student group DRE. These Cubans clashed with Oswald in the months before the assassination. One member reported that Oswald approached Howard via the DRE, offering to act as a mole within the Fair Play for Cuba Committee. Joanides received a commendation in 1981 partly for handling the DRE and for obstructing congressional inquiries into the JFK assassination. Documents include a fraudulent driver's license linking Joanides to the alias, contradicting official CIA denials to both the Warren Commission and the House Select Committee. These documents confirm CIA awareness of Oswald's politics and his engagement with anti-Castro groups. Congressional investigators in 1978 were misled by the CIA when Joanides served as their liaison and concealed his own covert Miami operations. This heightened suspicion of a CIA cover-up, not necessarily of direct involvement in the assassination, but certainly of hiding crucial interactions and intelligence related to Oswald. Records show over 35 CIA employees followed Oswald from 1959 to 1963, including high-level figures like James Angleton and Richard Helms. The Joanides revelations add complexity. The CIA not only tracked Oswald but deliberately concealed how and why they did so. Oswald's defection and pro-Castro activism fueled theories linking him to foreign intelligence. His DRE altercations, under CIA oversight, strengthened this link. Entities like the DRE, emboldened by CIA support, were in active conflict with Oswald. Combined with mob ties to figures like Jack Ruby, this fuels theory of a multifaceted conspiracy network. Figures such as former CIA counterintelligence officer Rolf Moat Larsen and HSCA chair John Tunheim suggest elements within the agency operated autonomously, and covered their tracks, after Bay of Pigs disappointments. Popular theories and cultural legacy. Popular media, including Oliver Stone's JFK, have speculated on CIA, mafia, anti-Castro, or military-industrial conspiracy. As we mentioned before, a 2023 Gallup poll found around 61% of Americans suspect more than one gunman. Recent CIA disclosures about Joanides provide hard evidence fueling such speculations. These July 2025 revelations portray a CIA deeply engaged with Lee Harvey Oswald, tracking him, orchestrating Cuban exile groups that confronted him, and then covering up these connections. Although there's no direct proof of CIA orchestration of the assassination, the concealment of Mossad-like surveillance activities and interference with investigations critically undermines the lone gunman narrative. The murder of JFK remains an open wound in American history. As more declassified documents emerge, the limits of official truth become more evident, reinforcing public distrust and validating generations of conspiracy theorists. What do you think of the new findings? Let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching.